Is XRP safe? We're going to discuss a lot about XRP today. We're also going to discuss prediction of spot Ethereum ETFs, Ripple CEO optimistic crypto outlook, and HNT news. We're going to discuss a lot about Helium today. Welcome to After Hours, team. We're going to have a banger show for you, but we're going to kick it off here because we are in a crucial moment here, Matt, and so we are going to hand it over to you here. What's going on in the markets? What's going on with Bitcoin?
Yeah, markets have been rampaging for the most part. Bitcoin came back into a safety zone for us, and that was really the biggest thing that I wanted to see. Was first of all just some daily candle closes over that 60K mark. I was more than happy just to see some strong conviction-based closes over that 60K mark. We've definitely had more follow through than that. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at the chart here together and kind of understand a little bit what's happening with the market. When we pull out our horizontal ray here, or horizontal lines, we can go ahead and mark where the bottoms are in here. Now we had, as you can see, a small deviation back here in early May, ended up recovering there. That 60K mark was a very, very strong level of support. This was a clean and clear break below that level. So on July 4th, opposite thing of what you would expect to have on the 4th of July celebrating independence, a big break in support here of Bitcoin dropping below the 60K mark, closing as low as 56K, and then we ended up actually diving down the following day to that 54K area. Now what we saw from there after a little bit of consolidation was several conviction closes back over. So you had what we call sometimes as three white soldiers. So you have three big impulse candles like we had here. So we had July 13, 14, and 15, three consecutive candles closing up like that. So that was really, really excellent. I was actually expecting to see maybe a little bit of a deeper pullback after such a big set of impulses. We can see what actually ended up happening in here is we threw a couple tests here on top of the pivot zone. So you had a pivot zone in the middle of the range here. So July 1, failure to break from May 6th through May 14, failure to break. Some support here from April 18 through April 29, big support here in March. You guys can see that this level has been important. So we broke over that as well, tested a few, contended with these short-term MAs being the 50-day and 100-day, and then broke towards top of range. So we still have a little bit to go to get to all the way towards top of range, but I would say that Bitcoin has not only recovered the ultimate safe territory, which was 60K, reclaiming that pivot zone in such a short period of time really led me to believe that this was a stop hunt and that we are ready for higher prices. When we bring in our Fibonacci's, we go swing high, swing low off of this range. It's been developing for quite some time now. You guys can see that we are contending with that 702. It's generally the make or break point in the Fib sequence where you're going to either get a bust towards the 1.618 or you're going to get firm rejection from there. I think we've done enough correction in here. We've had a nice flagging structure. We've done a lot of consolidation. I think 84 to 86,000 is going to be our next leg up for Bitcoin here.
I love to hear that, Matt, and that's not just because I want to see higher prices in Bitcoin now, which will definitely affect our altcoins, but it is finally time for us to reap the benefits that we have been so diligent in investing within the bear market. And now we're at a point here, we're in the land of promise here, and I hope we do see those prices here soon. But if we don't, team, don't get discouraged here. We can't be getting all emotional here with prices. That's not where you want to be at. Be emotionless and be smart. And the only place you can really be smart nowadays, Matt, is within a community like Crypto Charge. Team, become a Crypto Charge member. Click the pin link in the comment section down below. It will take you directly to our website, education platform, tools, the community, all good stuff over there, team. Don't be one of these people floating out in the ether, not knowing what you're doing right now. I was having a great conversation last night with some folk that are older than me. And we were just discussing, asset prices, discussing the cryptos we like. And it was just so funny talking with an older audience about crypto and what they seem to be doing, and I had my father there and be like, hey, you got to listen to Gavin. He knows what's going on. And it's like, listen, you just got to be emotionless. Like, you can't let this emotion, Matt, it's good to have a plan. It's good to know what you're going to do with the money you're going to make off crypto, right? I hope it's something else with more investments. I hope you're taking that money, getting ready for the bear market. You're taking that money, you're thinking about real estate, take that money and doing something more with it other than bills, some minuscule like that. That's not going to, propel your future ahead right now. But it's very important, team, to have that game plan and to not, get all emotional right now, because it can get very scary for some of you right now if you are lost. So become a Crypto Charge member, 30 days free. Use code YouTube, and we will give you a little salute when you join up and hop into the Discord. Matt, let's get into the news here. We got a couple news pieces today, and some things that we like to talk about will be on the back half of the show. But we got to get through this Ethereum topic right here first. So CBOE confirms trading launch of 5 spot Ethereum ETFs on July 23rd, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. The ETFs include 21 Shares, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, Invesco's, VanEck. The SEC has instructed issuers to submit final amendments. Here, Maddie, let me show you up here so I'm not just reading so you can read along with me. The SEC has instructed issuers to submit final amendments with the expectation of final approval July 22nd, which is today. So we'll get some of that news later on today. Analysts predict the introduction of these ETFs will drive Ethereum prices higher, potentially surpassing $5,000 and pave the way for broader institutional adoption. Maddie, do we ape in on Ethereum right now?
Never ape in to anything based on, no matter how bullish you are, right? I hope that that's like the one thing you guys take away from our show, from our program. If you extract one thing, that aping is never a strategy, right? It's an instinct. It's not a strategy. With Ethereum price prediction around $5,000, that's actually Fibonacci supported. So like we just looked at with Bitcoin, the current range has been intact for over 100 days, 84, 85,000. That puts Ethereum right around 5K. Now, does this become the catalyst that drives Ethereum to 5K? No, I think the markets are just going to move when they're ready to move. Same thing like we've seen with Bitcoin, right? When the consolidation is done, we've had a sufficient amount of time in a certain range, showing that certain levels are new floors of support. We see those significant moves higher. But like we've talked about with some of these big names in here, like your VanEck, your 21 Shares, your Franklins, these are very, very big names that have a lot of very wealthy customers and a lot of smaller customers as well that trust their recommendations. So as the market matures, you're going to have a higher level of conviction, and even some of the money managers here at some of these platforms and brokerages that are going to want to suggest to put their clients in these types of funds. So yes, over time, I think that definitely supports higher prices for Ethereum, higher prices for Bitcoin. And as we get more listings for, XRP and Solana and whatever else is going to be on the block next, that it does, induce a longer term exposure. You're going to have individuals who are not here just for a certain cycle. They're going to have it in their portfolio for 15 or 20 years. So when they go to retire, then they'll be happy to, sell that exposure. So, do we ape in right now? I would say no, right? We already looked at, some of the more advantageous prices for Ethereum. We got a great opportunity to buy the bottom of the range if you wanted to get into more Ethereum, under $3,000. If you missed that, I wouldn't be going as heavy as now. We got a pretty nice pop from then. One of the things to consider with Ethereum, even from current market price though, from roughly $3,500 up to that 5K mark, is less than a 50% return. It's about a 45% return to that 5K mark. Now, I think Ethereum tops out higher than 5K this cycle, but I want you guys to always look at risk to reward. Never be blinded by the actual price itself. It really doesn't mean anything to you, right? Because it's all that matters at the end of the day is what kind of return did I actually make on my investment?
Maddie, that was funny. You said it was Fibonacci supported because that was the first thing I noticed. I pulled up like $5,000. I pulled it up on my Ethereum chart and I noticed the same thing. And it was just funny because they are saying that Ethereum would catch up to what Bitcoin has done, right? Swing high, swing low. Usually Fibonacci, that would be catching up because Ethereum has been lagging behind. Looking in the past, Ethereum is lagging behind. You would think it would be moving a little bit higher, but there's a lot of money in that market. So don't ape in, I think, is the message here, team. Let's move on to it's funny. Let's move on to some XRP topics, XRP community topics, talking about Brad Garlinghouse. XRP price activity rise as Ripple CEO says he expect legal resolution very soon. So Brad Garlinghouse did an interview with Bloomberg, and if you remember, we did a coverage of a Bloomberg interview with Brad Garlinghouse, and we, rewatched it, and it was from 6 years ago, and we got that one girl was like, Brad Garlinghouse, and she had no idea what she was asking. It was pretty funny. But it was a good video to look on retrospectively to see where we came from, right? And so now he's back on Bloomberg doing an interview at a very interesting time, and he talked a lot about what's going on in the political landscape, Dems and Republicans. He talked about the recent meeting of the roundtable we discussed a couple shows ago, and then SEC v Ripple and the XRP token. So let's get into some of the things he said. I just kind of jotted all of them down. First thing he said is he was at the roundtable that we discussed that Mark Cuban was going to be at, organized by Ro Khanna in DC. And he said it sounded like the Dems have fallen behind when it relates to crypto being in the forefront of their platform. So you guys may not all be into politics as I am and paying attention, but, the RNC panel has been, very vocal. And this is like kind of the sentiment everywhere, Matt, here is everyone's being very vocal about crypto, but, whether strategic actions they're actually going to take to, provide crypto regulation and force us into a path of where we actually see pro crypto, not only language, but um, policies. That's what we want to see here. We don't want the talk, we want the action, right, Matt? And
Right.
so that's what we're waiting on. But it's just funny how Brad was saying the Dems are falling behind, because Trump has literally flipped like 180 here, being like, anti-crypto. He was always, very vocal about his CBDC stance. But now it's like, the crypto king, the crypto president is what we're getting. So it's just funny. And so like Brad was just sitting there and he just sounded like the Dems were like, oh, we need to get on that clarity. It doesn't need to be a partisan. It could be bipartisan.
Right.
24 countries have come together to provide clarity as a nation with crypto regulation, and then we have us. This is what Brad was talking about. He said the SEC is not solving the regulation problem. Brad talked about the internet being allowed to flourish because of regulation in the 90s. And before we go any further about these topics here, Matt, you've talked about this a lot, like with the internet and comparing crypto and Bitcoin to the internet, right? What kind of differences do you see, like, as the internet in the 90s? And I know you're very young, but like, what's the difference you can draw there between what we're seeing with crypto? We're seeing crypto innovation, but we're seeing, figureheads like Gary Gensler attack these companies and
Right.
stoop our regulation, and we don't like that. But then we look at the internet and there was regulation there allowing it to flourish. What kind of differences do you see there?
Yeah, so anytime you have new tech, I don't expect regulators to immediately on contact be like, we know exactly what to do to help you guys, make this as efficient as possible, right? Like, you can't expect people who are still making the tech, who are having speed bumps with this tech and learning more about it, as it's a very young technology, to have all these things ironed out. I certainly don't put that same pressure on regulators. However, like what we've seen with the regulation by enforcement with the SEC, having a willing ignorance, if you will, to what's happening in the space, that the space isn't going anywhere. We need simple things like we had when we finally did have a little bit more of a mature internet, where we had, for example, like the corporation that handles the registration of domain names, right? So now we have a very unified process where people can register domains, and now of course that has expanded over time as well. We don't have just .coms, we have .nets, .real estates, .apartments, .house, whatever. You have a lot of different domain extensions, and again, that's just a good example of over time adapting to the new types of technology, the way that people utilize the internet, and that's going to continue to change over time, and regulation needs to evolve with that. But we did make accommodations in the 90s to make sure that the Googles got to be Googles, right? Like we made sure that we were able to allow that to spread. Like even when you had other competitors come into the space, MSN, AOL, you had a space where people could come in, register, and be competitive, and also protect investors at the same time. Now, it's a little bit different with some of the stocks that you were able to purchase, back then, because there were already security laws, and some of that did fall under existing security laws. But there was another side to the internet that required regulation that wasn't already, baked into existing security laws. So the sooner we can approach it like that, hey, it's very valuable tech. Yes, people can exploit it. Yes, people can do nefarious things. That's always going to happen. But what can we do to, as very best we can, protect investors, but also not stunt growth in technology? And I understand it's a very difficult dance to balance with, but it's absolutely necessary if we want at least innovation to stay here in the US. Otherwise, it will continue to go to other parts of the world where they don't have as much oversight. And that doesn't always lead to a bigger benefit, right? Because if there's no oversight, now we're back to the same problem, right? We have now just people who are able to really exploit other people, but hey, we don't have any, ties to you because we're in the Bahamas or we're over here and we're in this, little island jurisdiction. We don't want that either, right? So the sooner we can, as bipartisans, together with regulators, with Congress, create crystal clear framework for innovators, we can have a very explosive industry. You're going to have a big boom in the coding sector. You're going to have a huge demand for, you're going to have a just big job growth in general in the tech sector. You could have a boom like we had in the 90s and 2000s. So I do hope that's where we get to, and I think it's coming.
Maddie, I think you said that better than Brad did. You got into better detail there. Last thing I want to talk about, Matt, and kind of before we get to, some more regulation talking points here, is just talking about SEC v Ripple, right? So get into the talks about, like, we had a big year last year in July with XRP being declared non-security, but within the title of this video will be XRP is safe. A lot of people are getting into XRP right now. I had a buddy of mine literally say like, dude, I'm seeing XRP talk, I'm seeing XRP videos everywhere now. I'm like, see how that works, bro? It's just like these people come out of the woodworks. And it's like, oh, I guess XRP price is doing good now. It's time to start talking about XRP. So, Matt, we know this, but we're just seeing it again and again, and now we're back here again. But give people what they need to hear. So, talking about is XRP safe, SCV Ripple updates. The last thing that Brad talked about within this interview was the last piece that's left in the SCV Ripple case is the investment contracts sold to institutions. So all that together, Matt, what is your SCV Ripple update here?
Yeah, so
Hey, what happened?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
that was super weird. Just stopped out of nowhere.
All right, Matt, we're back in internet problems. Actually, Matt, you did downgrade your internet to Frontier, or was it Cox? You know, so.
No, bro, that's never happened. I think there's something weird with the last boot that I had on my PC, but I think it's all good now.
All right, Matty, third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm.
SEC v Ripple update. Go ahead.
Yeah, so with this piece of the case, I hate to say it, but it is the most unimportant part of the case to us as retail holders. Now, deep down, do I want to see Ripple pay little to nothing in disgorgements? Absolutely. And I think this is really what it's going to come down to. I don't think that any institutions were intentionally misled by Ripple. I don't believe that there were investment contracts by selling them tokens themselves that represent value on a certain network, right? Especially when we think about, you know, the priviness and the research level and the teams behind some of these institutions. They have the resources to do some research and understand a little bit about it, is what they're purchasing, right? Whereas maybe a retail investor would be less informed. So the fact that retail investors said, hey, these secondary market sales absolutely do not constitute investment contracts, right? That is in writing, that is a court document, that gives XRP within itself legal clarity. This last piece is explicitly about institutional sales by Ripple of XRP, and I don't believe that any of those truly represent investment contracts. Now, it's mostly, like I said, to cut down the amount of time and money that's spent in the rest of this court case, it's probably going to come down to a settlement, and that's probably just going to be a little bit of back and forth about what that actually means, how much it's going to be, and then it'll be a case closed situation. Does XRP skyrocket after the end of this case? I don't think so. I think that we already got the pop that we were going to get when we got the ruling about XRP in itself. Now, the bummer of that is, you know, it was during a bear market, so we didn't get the same explosiveness and continuation I think would have gotten, let's say, if it had happened in October through December of last year, then we maybe have gotten a little bit of a different reaction. But, you know, it's obviously something we want to pay attention to. I'm, you know, hoping and rooting because I care about Ripple, the company, and I care about the team over there, that they pay as little as possible and don't have anything, you know, saying that they had any wrongdoing. But it's not important to us as retail investors.
Absolutely, Maddie. And just to kind of cap this, you know, part off, because the people that are entering XRP right now have heard the narratives, or they have been on the outskirts of us and heard the narratives like, oh, XRP is getting sued, which is like, that statement doesn't even make sense. And it's like, oh, XRP's price isn't that great, you know, it's under $1, so it's not that great, you know. What would you say to those people that have comments like that?
Again, it all comes back to ROI, guys. You know, you even look at what XRP did in the last 2 weeks. It's done about 60 or 65% just in the last 2 weeks alone. It's what I always come back to. It's that it just takes one God candle to change everyone's perspective on an asset as a whole, right? And you see it with new projects, right? Well, hey, it's run up this much in 3 weeks, and you know it's brand new, and everyone's pumped about it, and the community's enormous. So I think the XRP community is just tired. I think there's a lot of people who have been holding XRP for a while, and they're tired, and maybe they even have a little bit of doubt in their minds and their hearts. And you know, I understand why they do. The reality is, you know, if you understand the tech, you have the long-term vision, you know, and you're willing to build an actual position for yourself that's meaningful, this can be a very powerful thing long-term. So for some of you guys, it's not the move, and that's okay, right? Some of you guys are only here for today, so go ahead and chase whatever microcap you think is going to give that to you, right? That's not me. I understand what, you know, real wealth looks like, wealth that, you know, stands for decades at a time, not wealth that's just, you know, fast money. That fast money is not wealth. Let's make that distinction right there, right? And that's really what I want to build for myself and help you guys build for yourselves, right? And it's not to say going all in on XRP. That's never been my approach. There's over 10 assets in my portfolio, right? So, and XRP happens to be one of the larger ones in there, but I've also started to build up some other positions, and I made meaningful positions in Casper, Zcash, even Helium. Helium slowly became, one of my larger holdings in there because I see both the technical and fundamental setup there, as well as the long-term vision for Helium. I'll definitely be holding some of my Helium long-term as well. I hope that you guys, take that and understand that, you get into another cycle, and let's say we do get, a $20 or $22 XRP, and you make a higher low. Everyone's perception is way different now. You're gonna have new participants come in the market and never know anything about the lawsuit or anything about the struggles of not making new highs for a long time. They're not gonna ever know anything about that, especially if you get, like we said, XRP ETF listings. You're having older people getting an exposure through their traditional brokerage accounts. That's long-term growth for something like XRP. So you missed out on Bitcoin, you missed out on ETH. You still see the long-term growth in those, but you wish you had gotten into one of them earlier. XRP still has that opportunity now. So again, it's not for everybody. I don't expect it to be for everybody, but I think I've made my points as to why I believe that it's a great opportunity for a lot of people.
Maddie, you just previewed Helium there, and now we're going to get into some Helium topic, as it is a crypto very different than some other cryptos we talk about when it comes to utility, but is worth it nonetheless. It was funny, Matt. I was telling you before the show, it's like ever since it's this crypto. Let's just talk about price for a second. It's one of those cryptos where Maddie started talking about it, and then just a short while later, we're seeing, 70% upward movement, or, Maddie's average, he was telling me, is around that $4 region now, but because he was getting in earlier for, what was it, a swing trade, Matt? You're getting in for a shorter term trade, but now you're just discussing about how you foresee it in the long term now. But it was just like one of these assets where it's like, hey guys, I'm talking about Helium now, very bullish on it, and then we see good price appreciation, and nobody bats an eye at that. They only get mad when they talk about the Caspers and the XRPs of the world, where it's like, oh, I haven't seen the price movement yet. And it's like, well, wait a second, it's coming. Let's talk about Helium. HNT token beats Bitcoin with 40% surge as Helium mobile subscriber count tops 100K. So team, interested in Helium? This is probably going to be the first time you're hearing about it, or a new crypto that we discussed sometimes on the Ask Maddie show. I think Maddie's charted it a couple times, but we haven't brought it up into this format. So if you are new here, pay close attention here. It is up 70%, so this is probably why you're interested, but that shouldn't be the reason why you would buy the asset at this moment. Helium Mobile utilizes these hotspots, allowing data communication and tracking without traditional cellular or Wi-Fi networks. Subscriber count have exceeded 100,000, marking a 300-fold increase in a year. And I just want to show you this hotspot map, Maddie, here. And because I was just telling him, bro, this is crazy, bro. For a crypto of this size, for a project of this size, dude, this is this is pretty all around the world, if I'm being correct. You're just missing some, African and Latin American countries, but bro, this is very dynamic, very across the board here when looking at this hotspot map. And talking about this 300-fold was pretty crazy, so a huge increase here. Helium's Mobile's progress report includes a pilot program, here we go, fundamentals here, good fundamentals here, with U.S. telecommunications, and a licensing program to enhance compatibility with third-party hardware and Open Roaming. These initiatives aim to expand data transfer options and connectivity for Helium users, illustrating the network's practical blockchain applications. And one of the things I pointed out, I went to their website, and they said, we're currently beta testing with prominent U.S. carriers, starting with specific locations they've selected to transfer mobile data with their subscribers over hotspots, not hot spats. Maddie, how bullish are we?
I'm incredibly bullish. And, I think that a lot of people are maybe overlooking the bigger fundamental case here of why these, mesh networks are so valuable. When you guys look at some of the power infrastructure around you, you see all the old power lines and everything. Most of our energy infrastructure here in the United States was built in the 60s and the 70s, right? And what do you guys think the average person was utilizing power-wise in the 60s or 70s, right? We didn't have crazy, computers like we have now. We weren't running an intense amount of electronics, right? Maybe the highest things you would use in your house would be plugging in your vacuum, or maybe I don't know, that would probably be the or your blender, right? Those would probably be the two biggest power hogs that you could possibly pull, right? So, right, your radio, exactly. These are and that's that's what our system was built on, right? So like we had, first of all, different materials available then than we do now. We have different ways that we can go about things, but most of that infrastructure was built a very long time ago, right? So think about that also when it comes to the telephone lines. A lot of these network towers and stuff you see are very old. It's also very expensive to erect them. And a lot of these towers have to sit on private property. So they also have to pay, or they already do this, they have to subsidize and pay a monthly fee to whoever owns these pieces of property to continue to use the tower and have permission to go onto the site and maintain the tower, all those different things. So, over time, what do you think is going to happen as more and more of the world is online? More people have demand. We already have an enormous amount of demand for, accessing our cellular data as well as other types of data from our mobile devices. As we continue to see that change over time, and students use less and less books, and we have more and more computers connecting to the internet, and you have more rural people around the world, because remember, there's a lot of people in areas where they're not in condensed cities where there's access to all these towers. What do you guys think the solution is to that, right? Is it spend trillions of dollars and upgrade all this infrastructure and, try to deal with all the real estate hassles, or do you decentralize it and let people contribute to these mesh networks and, of course, compensate them with rewards? I think it's an obvious hand-in-glove fit. So these are the types of use cases, real-world use cases. When you guys want to talk about real-world use cases, this is a prime one. And of course, all these legacy, whether it's T-Mobile, AT&T, Spectrum, they're all going to be interested in this, right? And if they don't have to do all of the footwork for it, and somebody else is already doing all the marketing, getting people, working with it, working out the kinks, seeing what people like about the devices, seeing which devices work the best, and then you can sell a final product to a company like T-Mobile or whatever. Chef's kiss, right? So I want you guys to think about the bigger use cases there. I think that it's very, very valuable and very important that we continue to get coverage on a decentralized manner that people can connect to no matter where they are in the world.
Team, we're out of time, but just talking about this Helium point here, because I know you guys are going to want to see it charted, so we will most likely do that. You guys, I can almost guarantee it, one of you guys are going to comment it, but we will definitely, we'll have Maddie here charted on the Ask Maddie show this Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. So make sure, don't leave me hanging here. I want it spammed in the comment section if you really want it, and are really interested, and then we could do that on Wednesday, Matt. But team, that is all we have for today. If you got some value here, make sure you leave a like and stick around by subscribing, because it's about to heat up, Matt. I think that's unquestionable right now. Like, we're going to enter a hot moment right now, and you do not want to be by yourself. You want to have some strong authority figures, or you want to be within a community like Crypto Charge so that you can be surrounded by like-minded individuals. I always go to that, but it is like-minded individuals.
True, it's true.
So team, don't miss out. Join us. Click the link in the pinned comment down below. I'm saying it for the last time today because it's very important. I don't want you to miss out. Just will let you guys know to use code YouTube so that you can...
Yes, use code YouTube, 50% off.
Very important, very important. All right, team, we'll see you guys Wednesday. Bye.